All right, we're going to be talking about angle of elevation and angle of depression. So let's take a look at the angle of elevation first. So we are looking at a person standing here and he's looking up at a lighthouse. When we talk about the angle of elevation, we're talking about the angle that is made from the line of sight and the horizontal line. So we're talking about this angle right here is the angle of elevation. Line of sight and then a horizontal line. That's what forms an angle of elevation. So now let's take a look at a word problem that we might have and figure out how we can label our diagram. We have Casey sights the top of an 84-foot lighthouse. So the first thing that we know is that we have the lighthouse stands 84 feet. Okay? And we know that Casey is 6 foot tall. So if we take the lighthouse height and minus the height of Casey, we now know the distance from the horizontal line to the top of the lighthouse, which would be 78. We're also told that the lighthouse has an elevation angle of 58 degrees. So remember, our elevation angle is made from the line of sight and then the horizontal line. So this is the angle of elevation, and it is 58 degrees. Now, I want to know how far Casey is standing away from the lighthouse, so I want to actually know the length of that horizontal line. So when we talk about right triangles, we can use a trig to figure out the missing parts. So we have the opposite side, and we're trying to find the adjacent side. So we're going to be using the tan. Now, we're going to be using the tan of the angle that's given to us, which is 58 degrees, is going to be equal to the opposite side, which is 78, divided by the adjacent side of the angle, which is going to be x. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use some algebra to solve. So I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to butterfly. So the tangent of 58 times x is equal to 78. We're going to divide by the tangent of 58 to find x. So we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to do Control Divide, and we're going to put in our 78, arrow down, hit our trig button. We're going to hit our tan and then put in the angle that we have is 58 and press enter, and that's going to tell us that the distance that Casey is standing from the lighthouse is 48.7 feet. All right, now let's look at the angle of depression. So the angle of depression is formed by, again, the line of sight and a horizontal line. So if I have a lifeguard sitting up here in his post, and we have the line of sight to the swimmer, that line of sight forms an angle with a horizontal line from where the lifeguard is. So that would then, again, give me my angle of depression. So my angle of depression is going to be this angle right here. Now, what's cool about the angle of depression is if you see this is a parallel line and this is a parallel line, we have alternate interior angles. So that means this angle of depression is going to be congruent to this angle of elevation. So this would be an angle of elevation from the swimmer's point of view because he's looking up at the lifeguard, and the horizontal line would be the water. So again, congruent angles. So let's see what we have in our problem. A lifeguard on a platform looks down at a swimmer. So we're going to have our swimmer down here. And we're going to have our lifeguard sitting up in his chair. So the lifeguard is up here. The lifeguard's line of sight is 8 feet above the ground. So this is going to be 8 feet because that's where the lifeguard is located, above the ground. Again, here is our ground level. And the angle of depression to the swimmer is 18 degrees. So we're going to draw in our horizontal line, and then this is going to be an 18-degree angle. Again, line of sight is right here. And the angle that's made with the line of sight and the horizontal line is your angle of depression, and it is 18 degrees. So now what we're trying to figure out is how far away is the swimmer. So we're trying to find this distance from the base of the lifeguard's post to where the swimmer is. So again, we're going to be taking a look at some trig functions for right triangles. If I'm trying to find the opposite over the adjacent, because remember, this angle is also 18 degrees inside the triangle, alternate interior angles. So I can use this to find my missing dimension. So I have opposite over adjacent is again going to be tan, opposite over adjacent. It's going to be the tan of 18 degrees is equal to the length of the side opposite is going to be my 8 foot. And the length of the side that's adjacent to the angle, right next to or makes up the angle, is going to be x. Put that over 1. I'm going to go ahead and do my butterfly. So I have the tangent of 18 degrees times x is going to be equal to 8. I'm going to divide by the tangent of 18 and divide by the tangent of 18. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to do control divide. And now this is going to be 8 divided by, hit your trig button, select tan, and this is going to be 18 degrees, and then press enter. And so the distance from the lifeguard to the swimmer is going to be 24.6 feet. Now, one thing to remember is when we're doing our trig functions, make sure that you've gone to Dock, Settings. Let me hit the 7 here. Dock, Settings, and then hit 2 for Document Settings. And you need to make sure that your angle is in terms of a degree so that you will be able to come up with the correct measurements. And that's how you use angles of depression and angles of elevation.